Good evening, friends. We have Saffron Tiger back with us. Welcome, Saffron.
Thank you, Meenaji, and Happy New Year to you and all our viewers. Hope you all had a very good beginning to the year and hope we will have a continuous growth and all positive things in this new year.
Wish you the same, Saffron. And
Thank you,
I'm
ma'am.
sure your daughter has also grown up now into a toddler.
Yes, absolutely. Time has flown by. It's been 4 years since our association is there, and yeah, she a lot of running around, so keeps me on my toes, enjoying every bit of spending time with her.
Yeah. So let's start with the first. We're talking about something that has surprised most people, and this is the podcast the first podcast that Prime Minister Modi has had with a YouTuber, and it is none other than supposed to be a billionaire, Nikhil Kamath, and it's called People with the Prime Minister. But also, I think he has another name for it, WTF. You know what it means. So, that's also another name for the podcast. I have seen that also there. So, we all thought that very interesting that the Prime Minister could give 2.5 hours or nearly that much to this podcaster. And yes, we did expect a brilliant, sort of interview. I don't know whether you would have watched it, Saffron.
I have watched bits and pieces of it, but it was very uninteresting and boring. The clips that were shared, the interviewer did not look like he was well prepared. There was no good diction. There was no good flow to the interview. So that were my 2 cents. I haven't looked at the entire interview yet, though.
Yes, yes. So, what is surprising is that, Saffron, is that we know this character because he has been connected and known as Riya Chakravarti's, boyfriend. And the last we have seen of them was them rushing around in a motorbike ride. And very strangely, normally, police are very, very particular that people should wear helmets, whether it is the driver or the person who accompanies. But here you see, she wanted to be seen with Nikhil Kamath, and that's why she is without a helmet. At least that's what we think. So you see the title as well. Priya Chakravarti spotted enjoying a bike ride with boyfriend Nikhil Kamath, and nasty trolls say, "Ab isko time aane wala hai."
Mhm.
So you know what that indicates as well, because we're talking about the SSR, link as well. Now,
Absolutely.
yes.
I
So
don't think.
now, yeah, please,
Yeah, ma'am.
yeah.
Finish the point.
Yeah. So, what I found, just like you said, what I found was that this man he very clearly from the beginning, he says that he's not a journalist. Okay. And then what's further, which comes as a quite a shock, is that he says that he has had only 25 podcasts, okay, of interviews with such people or whatever he was doing in those podcasts. Okay. Now, second thing that I noticed was that he has a very effeminate voice, somewhat like Ori, of who's working with Ambani's. Because I've got a very effeminate voice, and and when he speaks, you feel as though he's got marbles in his mouth. Now, he doesn't have very good body language. He seems to be very sort of, sometimes on the defensive, sometimes very, scared, sometimes, busy sipping tea. And yet, he dares to interview the most important person, not only in India, but in the world. We're talking about Prime Minister Modi.
Correct.
So, and on top of that, also you'll notice that he takes some notes. Now, Saffron, in this digital age, people are just looking at either their mobiles for questions, journalists, or, they just remember things that they put it out, or they read out of a pad. But this man is actually taking notes, especially of what Modi ji is speaking. So, as a journalist, I was very curious to see what notes he was writing, or was he just trying to behave like an intellectual?
Right.
Yes, yes, Saffron, yeah.
No,
You were saying something.
I think as far as he is concerned, I'm really surprised by the people who are in the PMO office who have uh, facilitated this entire shabby podcast, so to speak. And it's very unfortunate that our Prime Minister got pulled into this, right? Now I understand. I would give it to Prime Minister Modi ji that you may not have time to look into the background of these people whom you are going to meet, but the PMO office should have done a full vetting and made sure that the people that our Prime Minister comes in contact with are of certain stature and integrity. Clearly, the PMO office has failed there. Secondly, about this person, we just you just mentioned about that news clip where Riya Chakravarti wanted to be seen, and some people were saying that, like, अब इसका time आने वाला है. I don't think उसका time आने वाला है, because time उन्हीं लोगों का आता है जैसे SSR का आया, the brilliant soul, and as we are still fighting for his justice, uh, just by the just by having association with people like Riya Chakrabarti, and also I've heard about his past history. He was married to someone, and then some billionaire's daughter, and got divorced, and a lot of shady stuff is associated with this person. And even if you ignore, first of all, you should not ignore all these things, but even if you ignore these things and just purely give him, like, an unbiased opinion, it would be still very negative from my end, at least, because the way he was interviewing is not I would not expect a leader like Narendra Modi ji should be interviewed by in this way by someone like this Kamath.
Yeah,
That was
especially because, as you say, Modi ji is a very high tech prime minister who has ushered in the digital age into India, where we do not take money out of our pockets, we just pay from our phones, and he's completely changed the whole way we behave in public, because we do not need our wallets anymore. So there are lots of things that he has changed, and for him to choose someone so mediocre and someone who has absolutely no confidence is something that has come as a huge surprise. Now, Saffron, I want to show you a response. I had tweeted about this. I wanted to show you a response by another Twitterati. Okay. Now, I don't know whether you can read it, but let me just read it for you.
sure.
So Sudhir Bish says, not impressed at all with the recent interview of the rock star of Indian politics. Calling an interview a podcast doesn't change the basics of a great conversation. The stuff has to excite the listeners, viewers. The interviewer looked unsure and diffident, and the interviewee lacking his usual spontaneity and humor. The style of interviewer was extremely boring. The content was equally lackadaisical. An interview has to be an in depth discussion on economic, political, social, international issues. The head of a great nation was being interviewed, not a run of the mill celebrity. Maybe I am out of tune with the times, but I am not. An interview is best left to a professional journalist. This is a specialist job requiring the precision of a surgeon. So you see, so brilliantly he's put it, Saffron, and this is exactly the feeling that many people have had. Now, what happens is, of course, there'll be a lot of censoring. Now, we have tweeted the whole thing on Twitter. There'll be a lot of, censoring, and our tweets will be all cut out and all that. That is what happens usually in Twitter. They don't want the actual voice to be heard. But then, if you look at the interview, Prime Minister Modi very clearly said, in a democratic country, social media is very important because it exposes the lies that any media puts across. It could be mainstream media or any media. If they put something out, it can be verified by checking out different YouTube channels or other social media. So now here I'd like to tell the Prime Minister, please make sure that when you call a person, he could be a billionaire or a millionaire or whoever it is, but when someone is interviewing someone of your stature, please ensure that he's confident enough to speak, ask you the right questions. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. At least if he was picked for this job, There should have been rehearsals. He should have prepared better. Like, first of all, you should not have ties with people who are having these past, right? And if at all, barring all those things, like that gentleman posted on Twitter, right? He has echoed feelings of hundreds of thousands of people, including myself. I think that was very well put, that like it was completely lacking luster. And you called out a very good point that, like, there must have been a lot of editing done. And if the edited material looks the way it did when we saw it, I can't even imagine what it must have been like for our prime minister to sit there and give this interview. I'm pretty sure he must have given an earful to his PMO team to make sure that people of this character and of this sort should not be seen anywhere close to him.
Yeah, and also the truth is that, see, Prime Minister has already proved himself in the third term, and he doesn't need further endorsement. And whatever he wants to say directly to the people, he does it through Man Ki Baat. Okay, he doesn't need further endorsement. For this man to act, the funny thing is, Saffron, is that this man is trying to cover his nervousness, by sipping tea continuously. Okay, and then trying to act as though he's the prime minister, and prime minister is just interviewing him. So you can see that there is a lot of inferiority complex in this boy, and he keeps saying that he's the youngest entrepreneur and all that. So he believes that he would have created the word entrepreneur. So let's take a look at his background. So the first thing that he did was he interviewed Bill Gates in his program. Now, this man has interviewed him, and we all know Bill Gates' name is connected with Fauci, and we all know what it stands for.
Yep.
Everybody knows with regards to COVID, who are Bill Gates and Fauci. Now, anybody connected to Bill Gates, your antenna goes up. Now, usually from PMO side, we understand that he's not very, in this case, he's not been very selective in who is interviewing him. But as a journalist, I somehow felt that this was a totally one-sided conversation from a man who looks like a mouse. Perhaps they thought that this would be the best way for the prime minister to speak about his life and memories. So it was more like a biography being read out, because his questions really sucked, because he doesn't know what he was, asking, and he kept, sipping his tea, trying to hide his, his nervousness. Now, if you look at his background, Google is filled with his background. And the first thing we know about him is that, see what, and you can also see what Bill Gates said about him. Now, Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates said that he's inspired by young leaders like Zerodha founder Nikhil Kamath and Nitin Kamath, who are championing philanthropy in India. The efforts by them in addressing climate change and supporting entrepreneurs are incredible, Yates tweeted. Responding to the tweet, Nitin wrote, "Thanks for taking the time to meet us. You are an inspiration." Now, if you remember, some time back, there was an ex-minister, a lady, who also made khichdi and taught, Bill Gates to make khichdi. So that there also was a very close proximity with that minister. Now, recently, apparently, when Prime Minister went to America, one of the special invitees, Biden's one of the special invitees, was Nitin Kamath. So now you just have to put these things, connect the dots, and you'll know that there seems to be something very, something else also. Now, if you look at, as I said, if you look at Google, you'll find that he was married to Purvankara, one of the top real estate, leaders in India. His daughter, Amanda Purvankara. She's the director of one of India's leading real estate development company, Provident Housing Limited. They were married for 1 year before they got divorced. And there were a lot of rumors in Google saying that, see, she wanted to sell the shares of the company, that is Zerodha, and he said that you talk to someone. So it was like there would have been a fight between the two. And as you know, when he married her, she was the rich person and he was only an ordinary person. So you can make out now. Whether I wouldn't say whether he's a climber or not, but there seems to be something to it. Now, another, a scandal is that when you talk about chess, Yes, when you talk about, let me just go to, yeah, when you talk about chess. Now, Nikhil Kamath had tweeted a reluctant apology for cheating and winning against former world chess champion Vishwanath Anand in a COVID-19 fundraising match. You know,
Oh.
so this, yeah, so this, at, can you imagine? He apologized for it, which means that he knows that he was cheating. So it is it this man, with this kind of integrity, who was selected to interview the Prime Minister of India? Is my question, right? And then then the next thing you see is that he also, now let me go back to this person. Next, he also invested in a company called Collective Artists Network. Now, whose owner is this man. Now, Vijay Subramaniam. Right. And before that, I'm sure all the SSRians will know who this man is, Anirban. And he was the one who was the CEO of One, who exploited many women sexually. And he tried to commit suicide by jumping off the bridge in Mumbai. And he was caught. Okay. Now, apparently, the name, so this owner we are talking about now, Vijay Subramaniam, let me just go to his picture. Yeah. So he says that the Kwan has doubled in size in the last 15 months, is what this man says. So the name now is Collective Artists, which is now the name for Kwan. So if you look at also uh, the connection with you remember the connection with SSR,
Mm-hmm.
the connection. And at that time, what I wanted to say is that this company has now interest in one more company, which is called Big Bang Music. So Quan, which is the global music giant Sony Music, and Quan have announced a strategic joint venture to launch a new age pop label called Big Bang Music. Okay, so now if you look at that, Saffron, Big Bang is another company in Pakistan, okay, which produces cereals, okay, your soaps. Now you see the link with Pakistan. Now, Salman Khan very clearly said that he has no connection with Kwan or with Big Bang and all that. But then, of course, the SSR case fizzled out. Nobody, all the shell companies that Sushant Singh Rajput was forced into, all that died down. Right. Now, if you look at that, see, isn't it very surprising, uh, uh, Saffron, the connections that we are revealing now? And after that, he got connected with a lady called Manushi Chiller, who was the Miss World. Now, you know the connections of Miss World. Miss World is also having very, very shady connections. You talk about Urvashi Rautela, who was the ambassador for, and she was also a judge in Miss World. And she was the one who was selected to give the Bhagavad Gita to Netanyahu in Israel. And now you see Urvashi Rautela featuring in a very sleazy dance in a Telugu film, which is now being shown to people, and people are just shocked. So now you look at the connection between Bollywood, you look at the connection between Kwan, you look at this man Nikhil Kamath. So what is happening here, Saffron? What do you think is happening?
Ma'am, thanks to you and your team who has done this immense research and brought out the facts in front of people, because it's very important for people to know the truth and the source of the truth. Secondly, if a person like you who can find all these facts and connect the dots, why can't people from Prime Minister's office are well equipped or have that mindset of doing the deep background checks and finding all these things? That is something that I don't understand. And As far as this Kwan is concerned, right, we know that how deeply it was connected to SSR case, the exploitation of so many people who have aspirations coming from small town. They know the realities of it, that like they will be casted as outsiders, but they continue to swarm into these agencies because they become desperate for fame. And they
And you
for
also remember, Saffron, the company was handling top names like Deepika Padukone, Ranveer Singh, Hrithik Roshan, Kartik Aaryan, Rashmika Madanna, and SSR, and also SSR, Riya Chakravarti. You
Yes.
remember?
Yes, absolutely, I do, ma'am. And the only difference between all these names is that, like, you will have majority of the names will have backing of their parents who have already made it into the circles. So you will have Deepika Padukone and all the names that you just said, and then there would be very few people, maybe one or two of them, like who would really make it to the top, just like our SSR did. And once you go to that level, you have to play by their tunes, or you have to end up like how he did. That's the unfortunate reality of that business, at least in India, I would say. So just looking at it holistically, the kind of connections these people have, they have left no stone unturned to pick models which are of questionable character, put them into serials of Hindu mythologies, and show them as like goddess or something along those lines, and then have no shame to include those same people doing sleazy dances in Bollywood songs or films, right? So this culture needs to stop, but it cannot be stopped unless uh, the people who are in the power and their offices, like the officials around them, have this realization. And I don't I mean, like, personally, I would really want things to change, but it doesn't look like the right people are around our prime minister who can ensure that, at least to start off with, the people who are interviewing him are of clean character. It's one thing it's one thing that, like, sometimes people of good stature also come into negative news. But if you have consistently negative news, where you have yourself accepted that you cheated the world famous chess champion, and you had no shame, right, to do that act in the first place, I don't understand why people like this are brought to this podium, and they are given the opportunity to interview our prime minister. Maybe there are some. The only thought that comes to my mind is that there might be some strategic partnership as a
Yes.
party, because, like, he has money, right? So maybe, that's the thought that comes to me, but it's a very speculative thought. I
Yeah,
cannot back.
and which we can't believe, because see, what Modi ji has projected is that he has a squeaky clean image. Okay, so we cannot think that, see, money would have changed hands for the silly interview. Okay, so but one thing is that, Saffron, what made people's antenna go up was the fact that mainstream channels who hate YouTubers, because YouTubers expose them, were the first ones to go and say that, please watch this interview. And they were showing little shots, right from Arnab to everybody, showing shots of this man interviewing the prime minister. So now everybody was looking up, and then, of course, the strange thing is the interview is being shown in Narendra Modi's channel. So, is that TRP? Okay, 16 lakhs TRP, or whatever the TRP is, that's happening right now. But now the question is, this is not the first thing, Saffron,
Mhm.
right? When you saw Ekta Kapoor's movie, which had absolutely nothing to do with the main incident, just a few things here and there, that's it, Sabarmati report. But Modi ji made sure that the whole cabinet had landed to see the movie. Now, everybody knew that the movie was a huge flop. Now, Ekta Kapoor was in a crisis mode. So now all she had to do was make a call and say that these people have to be there and help me out. And that's exactly what happened. Even Amit Shah met Ekta Kapoor and her team in his office. Now, that was one thing. Now, This is this is a time when this lady had a POXCO case against her, right? Because she was showing juvenile sex in her Gandhi Baat series, and she was being, framed for that. Not a sound. Now, would you want to attach yourself to someone who's having such a stigma to herself and her mother? Both of them are involved. Okay. Now, the second thing is when the Kapoors were called, I believe it's the same person who's arranging for all this, all these interviews and meetings. The second thing was the Raj Kapoor family meet, right? There's nothing wrong in meeting the Kapoor family because Raj Kapoor was famous and everybody knows that he has a history behind it. But when you have people like Ranveer and his cousin, Ranveer was caught in an apps scam, right? And his cousin was also caught in another scam. These two people have not been cleared from the cases. And you are meeting such people as the Prime Minister. Now, as a Prime Minister, you should be setting an example and telling us that, see, I will not meet people with such backgrounds until they clear themselves and come out clean, then I will meet them. So this would be the case even with Nikhil Kamath, right?
Absolutely,
Was he
ma'am.
clean? Yeah. So you are telling us that in your interview itself, you're saying it's a democracy. We need to follow principles. He even quoted his mother saying that, see, always do clean work, right? What is clean work? Clean work is when you
Clean.
as a Prime Minister have promised the public that you will give us justice. And even after 4.5 years, Sushant Singh Rajput's case remains there in the back burner. When all other cases, any case that came which is connected to the government is cleared there and then. Why did this case go into the back burner? And even the sisters told people like Sandeep Fogart to stop following it. No use, politicians are not interested in helping you, right? So the sisters also had some vested interest in it. They also stopped. Only we poor SSRians continued to fight without a pie, getting a pie for this, right? So if you, as a Prime Minister, are propagating that people should get justice and youngsters should become politicians,
You have to lead by
for
example.
youngsters, yes, for youngsters to believe in becoming a politician, you have to prove to us that you are listening to us, right? Yes, your point.
Oh, ma'am, definitely. We all know Sushant Singh Rajput's case. How has it been handled? And once we said that, there wouldn't be any better moment for BJP to show to bring that positive change. But collectively, the government has failed. And thank you for calling out wrongs on both sides of the aisles, which you have always done. To question even our prime minister that, if you are saying certain things, then you have to. It's your responsibility to set by example, right? Not only by keeping yourself associated with people having shady background like the Zerodha founder, but also I would like to personally add that he has also once met Salman Khan, or Salman Khan rather went to see him when he was undergoing that hit and run case, and also the black buck case, right? These things really could demotivate the younger generation from following the path of politics or trying to bring the change, right? This will continue the chalta hai attitude that has been long ingrained into our minds, because the common man is the one who suffers, right? And that's why everybody wants a Bhagat Singh but in someone else's house. So they are
Yes,
like, okay, you just do your thing, you just live a clean life, don't look at bad, don't speak bad, and don't hear bad, right? And that's why you will see that, if there is any injustice happening around you, people are more keen to film it rather than helping the person and stopping it or doing anything to stop that injustice. Such has become the sorry state of not only, I would say, India, but all around the world. A lot of big things happening. We had a huge fire. Sorry, slightly going off the topic. We have a huge fire in on the west coast in California, but a lot of damage has been done, and these are in affluent communities. But it's been said that the government has been involved into creating a lot of mess that has been already created, and unfortunately, people cannot do anything about it. So such is the sorry state of the affairs that we are living in.
yeah, absolutely. And also, see, if you're looking at, if you look at it from the point of view of the prime minister, see, what I understand as a journalist is that, usually if a very well-versed politician or a very well-versed person can walk into an interview without knowing what the questions are, because your experience will help you to answer the questions. But there are people who ask for a list of questions. Now, in this case, I feel this man was given the questions because this man does not have the scope to ask questions. Every question was geared to talk about Modiji's past. Now, Modiji wanted to speak about everything in which he felt, he could glorify himself, as a child, as a hero. So, in his eyes, he wanted to say a lot of things about his past, which in a normal interview would not have come across, right? Because if it's an India Today interviewing you, or if it is a Times Now, they will ask you some questions which Modi ji won't like, right? So then Modi ji will have to just answer those questions to please them. But in this case, in Nikhil Kamath's case, I feel that each and every question was not his question. They were questions that were already given by whoever was arranging it for them. So
Tailored
that,
questions,
yeah,
right?
tailored questions.
Questions.
Tailored questions.
Yeah.
So because you know that the way you look at Modiji's face, he's quite tired. He's just answering it for whatever reasons the people who have arranged it have. But to tell you the truth, Modiji does not need this at this stage. In 3 terms, he has proved himself. He is the leader of the world. He doesn't need such silly interviews for him to be propped up as a bigger hero. He's already a hero in the eyes of his, not only Indians, but all over the world. So we don't need a pipsqueak like this guy to tell us what he really is. And that was my, whatever I felt, from when I saw this interview.
No, absolutely. And I'm sure that there are at least 1 million people who would agree with you who saw that interview. It was very like that gentleman said, it lacked the luster. There was no tone, no flow to the interview. It seemed like all like some guy casually asking questions and sipping tea and hiding his incompetence to be a presentable host for conducting an interview. And any Tom, Dick, and Harry could have done a better job than this guy did. He should have known better, and our prime minister should have known better to make sure that this shouldn't have happened in first place.
Yeah.
By all
So
means,
yeah. So
by
before
all
we
means,
end,
if you want to have an interview, you should have a qualified person with some background. Even if the questions are tailored, there is a way of asking and conducting that interview. But that professionalism was completely absent there.
before we end, Saffron, see, let me ask you to just think about a couple of interviews that happened before. I will not name the politician. Okay, this was in connection with SSR, and those questions were geared to prop that politician up. There were tears, there was drama, there was everything. You remember that incident as well. So
Absolutely.
it is being arranged by people who want to project a certain image. But I seriously think, because I've been following Modi ji very closely, he doesn't need any further endorsement.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you. And I think these PR agencies are the ones that are brainwashing the minds of our leaders and also assisting the villains and the criminals to whitewash their images or to give them
The
a
feeling.
perception that you need to attract the Gen Zs who are investing a lot into stock market, or you need to be, for being a future leader or youth leader, you need to do XYZ and falana dhimkana stuff. And that's why you see the interviews that we are seeing that are completely unnecessary. They are agenda driven, and they lack anything but a positive direction for the development of our country.
Absolutely. So on this note, we end this session. Thank you so much, Saffron, for a wonderful session as always. We'll see you. If you're free next week, we'll meet up again and discuss other things.
Sure,
Thank
ma'am.
you. And also
Pleasure.
remember, Sushant Singh's birthday is coming. So in case you're joining us that day, please do.
Absolutely. We'll try to, ma'am.
Yeah.
Take
Good
care.
night. Jai
Bye-bye.
Hind and Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Hind and Jai Shri Ram.